I found out my wife and best friend have been stealing from me, planning to disappear together with my money. Now I've got a plan to turn the tables, but there's something I didn't see coming, and it might just blow everything up. Title: I Never Thought I'd Be Here. I can't use real names, but you get it. All right, Reddit. I really never thought I'd be writing something like this. Hell, I don't even know where to start, but I guess that's the whole point of coming here, right? I don't know what to do, and I need to get this off my chest. And no, I can't use real names. There's too much at stake, but let's call me John, my best friend Mike, and my wife, we'll call her Jane. A little backstory before I dive into the whole mess. I'm 27. Jane and I have been married for 5 years, together for a little longer than that. We've had the whole when are we going to have kids talk a few times now. It feels like we're getting close. I mean, I love her. I trust her. I've never doubted for a second that we were building a future together. We've been through some ups and downs, everyone has, but I've always felt like we were solid. I work a steady job, nothing flashy, but it pays the bills. The real dream, though, has been this business Mike and I have been working on for years. I've known Mike since high school. Our families are tight, like holiday dinners and weekend barbecues tight. He's practically my brother. We've always talked about starting a business together, and about 2 years ago, we actually started making it happen. Um, it's still in the early stages, but we've been pooling money for a while now, like saving up for the big launch. The plan is to go all in within the next year. It's exciting, and honestly, it feels like my escape plan from the mundane 9 to 5 grind. Everything was going fine, or at least I thought it was, until a couple of weeks ago. So I'm going over my finances one night. Jane's asleep on the couch after binge watching some Netflix, and I'm trying to balance everything for the month. No big deal, right? But as I'm going through the statements, I notice something off. A decent chunk of my savings is missing. Now, we're not talking life ruining money, but makes me stop and double check, and triple check, and triple check. At first, I'm like, okay, maybe I'm just misremembering something. Maybe Jane took it out for something and forgot to tell me. I mean, we've always had this understanding that we check in with each other before making big withdrawals, but life's busy. Stuff slips through the cracks. No big deal. But then I dig a little deeper. There's a transfer to an account I don't recognize. And it's in my wife's name, like a whole separate account that I had no idea existed. Now, my brain is starting to race, but I try to talk myself down. Maybe it's something she set up a while ago and forgot about. Maybe it's for a surprise or a vacation fund, or I don't know. My mind's grasping for any explanation that isn't what my gut is starting to tell me. But here's the thing, I didn't ask her. I should have. That's what a good husband would do, right? Sit down and talk it out. But something about it just felt wrong. I couldn't shake this weird feeling like there was more to it. So I don't say anything that night. I don't say anything the next day or the next week. Then it gets worse. I'm sitting on the couch with Jane one evening, and she goes to take a shower. Her phone's on the coffee table. I swear to you, Reddit, I've never been the guy to snoop through someone's phone. I've never had a reason to. But that night, with the missing money in my head and this nagging feeling that something isn't right, I don't know. I just did it. I know that was wrong. I feel shitty even admitting it, but I had to know. I had to. I opened her texts, and that's when everything came crashing down. There's a thread with Mike, my best friend, Mike. The texts between them were, I don't even know how to describe it. They weren't romantic or anything, but they were talking about money, my money, about how they've been slowly siphoning it from my account without me noticing, about how they were planning to keep doing it until they had enough to disappear, to just run away together, my wife and my best friend. I still feel like I'm in shock writing this. I mean, Mike, the guy I've known for more than a decade, the guy I'm building a future with, my wife. How long has this been going on? How long have they been plotting behind my back? The betrayal, I can't even put it into words. It's like this physical weight on my chest that I can't shake. I don't know how to confront either of them. I don't even know if I should confront them yet. I spent the next few days just processing. Jane acted like everything was normal, like she hadn't been plotting to drain me dry and run off with my best friend. Mike's been texting me like usual, talking about the business, the future. The worst part is, I don't even know what to do next. Do I confront them? Do I go to a lawyer? Do I try to catch them in the act? I'm stuck between wanting to blow everything up and wanting to play it smart to come up with some clever way to make them pay without tipping my hand too soon. I don't want to believe it, but I know it's real. And now I can't unknow it. I've been thinking about getting a forensic accountant involved just to figure out how much they've taken. I want to make sure I have all the facts before I do anything. But every time I see Jane or talk to Mike, I just, it's like this knife twisting deeper into my gut. Sorry, I don't know if this is making sense anymore. I feel like I'm rambling. I just needed to get this out. I don't even know how to process any of this, let alone how to act. If you've made it this far, thanks for listening. I'll try to post an update if anything changes, but for now, I'm just lost. Update 2 weeks later. Okay, Reddit. A lot of you asked for updates, so here I am. Yeah, things got wild. So after posting here and reading through all your advice, I decided to play it cool for a bit. No huge confrontations, no blowing things up. I needed more info. I hired a private investigator, didn't tell anyone about it, not even my family. I just needed to be 100% sure before I did anything. And man, am I glad I did. The PI didn't take long. Turns out Jane and Mike have been siphoning money from my account for almost a year. But it gets worse. Jane's been funneling it into this secret account, which Mike has been using to fund some shady investments. Not even for them to run away like I thought at first, but for Mike to use for the business I'm supposedly building with him. So yeah, they weren't planning to run away together, at least not right now. The whole disappearing thing was more about setting themselves up for when they'd eventually leave me out in the cold. I confronted them, finally. I didn't go in gunsing, I played it smart. I showed them the evidence, laid it all out. Jane cried. Mike denied it at first, then came clean. I don't know where things are going now. Jane and I are in this weird limbo. She swears she wasn't trying to hurt me, that she thought this would be for us in the long run. Mike's out. I cut him out of the business, and I'm going through the legal side of things to make sure I get back what's mine. I'm still wrecked. I don't know what's going to happen with my marriage, or if I'll ever be able to trust anyone like I trusted Mike again. But at least now I have some control over the situation. I'm not just sitting here, wondering if the people I love are stabbing me in the back. I guess that's all for now. I'll keep you posted. Update: the fallout with family. Hey Reddit, I'm back again. This will probably be my last update for a while, but I figured I owed you all one, especially after everything that's gone down. I decided to take your advice and talk to my family, and things got, well, complicated. I also couldn't stop thinking about how connected Mike's family is with mine, so I figured it was only a matter of time before everything came out. I'll start with my family first. My family's reaction. I sat my parents down a few days after I found out everything, when I had all the facts from the PI and after confronting Jane and Mike. I didn't tell them the full story at first, just that I'd been betrayed by both Jane and Mike. I tried to keep it as clean and simple as possible because I didn't want them to fly off the handle before I even finished explaining. But of course they did. My mom was furious. She always liked Jane, but hearing that my wife had been secretly taking money from me, let alone that Mike was involved, flipped a switch. She was already talking about lawyers, throwing out suggestions that I move back in with them temporarily, anything to get me away from the situation. She was ready to cut ties with both Jane and Mike, no questions asked. My dad, on the other hand, was quieter. He was angry, but he's more of the type to think things through before reacting. He told me that I need to handle this smartly, especially with Jane. He reminded me that if I wanted any chance of reconciliation, which at that point I still wasn't sure about, I needed to keep things calm for now. He said Mike was done in his eyes, though. After all the years of knowing him, he just couldn't wrap his head around how Mike could betray me like that. And then there's my younger brother. He doesn't live nearby, but I called him to fill him in. He was in shock, mostly because Mike's been like a big brother to him. They're pretty close, so this hit him hard too. He didn't say much, but I could tell he was pissed. More at Mike than Jane, but still, he hasn't spoken to either of them since. Jane's family's reaction. So, I didn't plan to talk to Jane's family myself, but when Jane found out I told my parents, she decided to come clean to hers. And honestly, that was a whole other level of messy. Jane's parents have always been overly supportive of her, the kind that always think their daughter can do no wrong. When she finally told them the truth about the money, they immediately went into defensive mode. According to her, they tried to downplay it, saying things like, "It's not that much money," and "You're married. What's his is yours." They really didn't seem to grasp the magnitude of what she did. They acted like it was some little misunderstanding between us, and I should just get over it. I'm not surprised, but hearing that made me even angrier. It's like they couldn't accept that their daughter could ever betray someone like that. Jane told me she felt awful for what she'd done, but I'm wondering how much of that is her own guilt and how much is pressure from her family to make this no big deal. Her parents even suggested that we go to couples therapy, but I don't know. I'm not sure therapy can fix what's broken here. Mike's family's reaction. This is where things got real complicated. Like I said before, our families are close. Mike's parents have known mine for decades. They're basically like extended family at this point. When everything came to light, I didn't even have to tell them. My mom did it for me. She felt like they deserved to know what their son had been up to, and honestly, I can't blame her. Mike's parents, wow. His mom was in complete shock. She called me right after my mom told her and kept apologizing over and over, like it was her fault. I could hear how heartbroken she was. She kept saying that she couldn't believe Mike would do something like this, that this isn't the son she raised. She asked if we could all sit down and talk things out, like this was something that could be fixed with a family meeting. I told her I didn't think that was a good idea, at least not right now. Mike's dad was a whole different story. He's a no-nonsense guy, and he straight up told me that if Mike was pulling this kind of stunt, he deserved whatever was coming to him. There was no sugarcoating it. He said he raised his son to be better than this, and if Mike screwed me over, then he needed to face the consequences. I think he's just as angry as I am, but at his own son. I found out later that Mike's dad went over to his place and confronted him. Mike called me afterward, but I didn't pick up. I've heard through the grapevine that their relationship is tense, to say the least, right now. The fallout. So, where does this leave me? Honestly, I'm still figuring it out. Jane's been staying at her parents' place for the past week. We haven't talked much other than logistical stuff. She keeps texting me about wanting to talk, wanting to work through things, but I don't know if I can. I haven't made any final decisions, but I'm leaning more and more toward a clean break. As for Mike, I haven't spoken to him since I confronted him. He's been radio silent, probably because he knows there's no fixing this. I've been meeting with a lawyer to make sure I'm protected financially, getting the business stuff sorted out, and trying to reclaim what he took. My trust in him is shattered, and there's no coming back from that. My family's been a huge support through all of this. I'm honestly grateful for them right now, even if they're ready to scorch earth in my defense. Jane's family, well, they're trying to play it off like it's not a big deal, which is frustrating. But what matters most is what I do next, and I'm still working through that. Anyway, that's where things stand for now. If you're reading this, thanks for sticking with me through all the chaos. It's been a rough road, but at least now I'm not navigating it alone. I'll update again if anything major changes, but for now, I'm focusing on getting my life back together, one piece at a time.